Hello and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
I'm Emily.
And I'm KristaLyn. Oh, and the solstice is coming up. Yay.
Oh my
Lovely
goodness.
little celebration. The darkness is about to go away. Kinda.
Yeah, kind of. In the next few months, really, we'll feel it, but that doesn't mean it, it's not. It technically is. It's by seconds each day, but still.
Mhm.
I'll take it, even though
Yep.
February always feels like the darkest month of the year. I don't know what it
February
is.
takes forever. No one
hmm
can tell me that is the shortest month of the year. Not by experience, it is not.
It's just so dark too. Like every time I think of like, oh, the darkest month of the year, technically, we just went through the darkest month of the year. You're like, that's technically when it was.
Yeah, no.
BS. It's
Disagree.
February.
Mhm. Yep. That's why I'm glad we have started planning our trips that time of year because it's like
Mhm.
gives me something to like cling to as we slog through February.
Yeah. On that note of trips, we're just going to plug this right in front. If you want to come to Egypt with us, we have actually opened up a couple spaces on both Egypt trips.
Mhm.
So if you want to check those out, that is still available. If you're like, you know what? Screw it. New year, new me. I'm going to go to
Mhm.
Egypt. We support
You
you.
want a
We will be
transformative
there for you.
experience. Yeah, Egypt will help you shed anything that you
hmm
don't want to be anymore. Egypt will be like, this is your soul. Please bring it out now. I've had
Yeah.
actual experiences with deities where like they literally will just rip it out of you. And okay, so it's not something to be afraid of, but it's like
No.
finally, like there was this
hmm
moment, it's like I don't have to hold myself back this way anymore. It's over. So if you're having that kind of readiness, this is the place.
It is. It really is. It's incredible. It feels like a portal just going. By the end of
Mhm.
the trip, you're going to be like, holy, I am a different human person. This is not the same.
Mhm.
So we'd love to take you because we're going to also be going through that with you.
Yep.
We did it last year. We'll be different people again. And
Yeah.
I'm here for it, honestly. It's going to be pretty amazing. Um, so on that note, just when you said the trips, I was like, oh, it's so funny because I was talking about I'm shooting a YouTube video today about my top five like spiritually activated places I've been.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna do a YouTube on that. And no, lo and behold, surprise, surprise, definitely Egypt has made the list. You have
Yeah.
to watch the video to see when and where and all those things. But
Mhm.
you want to go.
Yeah. I have to say, Egypt is the only place where you and I have a super secret photo album.
We do have a super secret photo album from Egypt. Every time I look at those pictures too, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it happened. We have photo evidence of it.
hmm
Insane.
And now the new museum's open. So
Mhm.
on our trips, we get to see the largest Egyptian museum ever to exist.
Yeah.
It's all new. It's gorgeous. And there's going to be some magical stuff in there too. And it's going to be very interesting to see the differences between there and where it used to be and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that's exciting as well. You'll see it in its first year of being open. That's cool.
Well, and we're going back. The other really cool thing about this trip is, again, we're going to be working with Hani, who we've worked with
Mhm.
before. So Hani already knows like the kind of trip we run. Hani did an incredible job of immersing us even more into the spirituality and the history and giving us validation, helping everybody find a deity to connect with. And so there will
Mhm.
be that opportunity again for everybody that comes on this trip. You're going to connect to some Egyptian entity, energy, whatever that is aligned and right for you, and there's going to be so much validation. It's incredible and it's
Yeah.
inevitable.
Mhm. We're so truly blessed with the trips. I just
Hmm.
thank you guys for coming on them. Thank you for
Hmm.
being magical as fuck on them.
Yeah.
Like it's so magical. Anyway, not to completely derail our episode right off the bat,
No,
but
no, no. No,
I just
but
want to plug that
that
out
does
there.
tie in. It
Yeah,
does tie in.
it
Because we're
does.
putting a unique spin on the solstice this time. Where like
Yeah.
every year, if you want to go back, go to last year. We'll talk about the solstice and some fun stuff you can do to celebrate it. We're going to talk about them again more today. But also, I think this year of all years, this is the year where, as the light dies on the solstice and is reborn, if there is a piece of you that you
Mm,
feel has been getting in your way, let it go with that dying of the light, and then bring in the new version of yourself in the next morning. The first hour of sunlight on the day that the solstice is the shortest day. So the day after that, which this year will be the 22nd. So on the day of the
Hmm.
22nd, that first hour of sunlight is the first hour of increasing light of the sun. Be out there for that. And it's like, it's not too early in the morning if you want to be able to do it. This is the benefit of shorter days. But you can go out there for that first hour of sunlight, let yourself feel it, and then know that you are bringing in this higher version of yourself, this more authentic expression of yourself, whatever your intention is. The night at sunset on the solstice on the 21st, release anything that isn't yours. I actually did this for my surgery on October 28th. I was like, as I'm unconscious here, and as this piece of me is being removed, anything that I no longer need, let it be gone too. And then while I am in this state, bring in anything that needs to happen. And there was this really tangible, visceral change. Um,
Hmm.
my whole life is different now. And
Hmm.
you can have that too. You don't need a surgery for it, woohoo. But you can have the solstice and make that kind of be a spiritual surgery to remove anything that is holding
Yeah.
you back, especially if
And
it's ancestral.
yeah, and it's a Saturday night. So
Hmm.
it'll Sunday morning is that morning.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you hopefully it would work in alignment with your schedule too, because it is a weekend.
Hmm.
Which is just a really lovely blessing because again, I use that word twice. Weird.
What
Anyway,
blessing?
yeah, I don't usually say
Yeah.
that at all. And then now I said it twice and I don't like it.
Mm.
Uh, it's fine. Sorry.
Bonification,
I'm
if you
just
will.
calling that out of my own self. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? Who knows? It's probably some synchronicity, something that's gonna come.
Hmm.
Callum.
Callum, buddy, checking out the
No. We had
bathroom mat.
a very, very scary balloon popping moment with those like packing balloons this morning.
Mhm.
And so he had to be babied for many minutes.
As he
Mhm.
deserves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was terrifying. How dare
Mhm.
that thing pop and scare him? Um, anyway, it's really cool that it is happening this week on a weekend so that hopefully we can take as much advantage of it as possible. As always, I always have things I do on the solstice. It's kind of like we really do celebrate it as like a second Christmassy style holiday in a lot of ways. This year we're actually doing our friends solstice. So instead of Friendsgiving, we're having everybody over for solstice and doing a potluck and hanging out and a really fun group of friends. As far as like we all do a lot of different holidays together. We've done Hanukkah because one of them or two of them are Jewish, and we've done Dia de los Muertos because one of them's Latina, and like we do a lot of that stuff. So now I get to do solstice with them, which is really exciting. But on that note, it really is a really lovely time to do community focused things too, if you
Mhm.
can. And that doesn't mean you have to host something like I'm doing. It can be as simple as like maybe just going and volunteering on one of those days. That is a really lovely way to honor that community space, or even just donating, or
Mhm.
going and using a free resource in your community, like a library. Like go to the library one of those days if you
Please go to
can.
the libraries.
Please always go to the library. It's a free space for you to be truly. So like that is a great thing. Or if there's a community event that's happening, a parade or whatever, like go participate in that. Trying to do some of those things too, because with the releasing of that part of yourself, we're also bringing in more connection to each other again. This is the first time ever in our lifetimes, anyway, where I look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, humans are remembering we need people.
Hmm.
Like, we really got into a space where we, our society over the last 30 to 50 years has been engineered towards individualism so significantly. And it's caused drastic amounts of mental illness and all these different problems and late stage capitalism and all these different things. And now we're like circling back around and being like, oh, it's actually not how we're supposed to do things. And I don't just want to be afraid to go outside and sit in my house all the time. Like, that's not actually what we want to do. And that is the other thing that I think that's coming in with the bringing of the light is also like finding light in each other. So that's another
Hmm.
intention that I would highly recommend having during this solstice space.
Yeah, for sure. I think the individuality turned into isolation in some slip there.
Hmm. It
Uh,
did. It really
yeah,
did. And that's not the way. We don't want
not what
that.
we're designed for. Yeah.
Hmm. That's not it. Oh, yeah. I'm really excited for the solstice this year. It feels big though, I will say.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if some weird big things happen on it. Oh, Krista, that's the face of you know.
Okay.
Oh, glad my pings are right. What's
Mm.
gonna happen?
So here's the thing. There's good news, and then there's let's explore.
Other
So,
news.
so the good news is when I looked at the year of, Aries ingress to Aries ingress for the continental United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or all of the United States that are represented by the capital here, right? Um, that doesn't include all of North America. It's just the United States. I would look at the capital of your nation for a similar thing. That would change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were in the United States, the good news was one chart let us know the
Mm-hmm.
tone of the year and everything that was going on, and we could unravel that chart for different timings of things, and it checked out really interestingly, in fortunate and unfortunate ways. So the ingress chart for Capricorn season is not going to put a dent in the year. So there's not like another, right hook coming our way. So as I'm looking at the winter solstice chart for the United States, it's more of a, oh, how's this small part of the climate going to be, culturally, less,
Mm-hmm.
shaking the country kind of thing. That being said, just because it's not doing something that shifts the infrastructure of the country and all that doesn't mean that stuff doesn't happen. Obviously, this is 3 months of time where stuff will occur because we exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I look at this, I'm noticing, first of all, that once again, the ruler of the chart, who is, in a pretty crucial point, is a Mars retrograde in Leo. So there's still some more like heat and frustration and that kind of stuff. The moon is in Virgo, the sun is in Capricorn, and then we have Uranus really close to the, descendant of the chart in Taurus. And I'm really looking at that Uranus because it's so close to the descendant. Outer planets, unless they're talking to each other or talking to an inner planet, I'm usually like, they're moving slowly. They don't have the microphone. Like they'll phone it in later. But right now, we're noticing
I'm
that
gonna
they're,
say, not this time.
no,
That's
just
not how it feels at all.
yeah. So when I looked at the chart and I just kind of tuned into it and I asked the planets, what are you representing based on all the stuff that it's doing? I do feel like we're going to have some natural events that show up, of the like Earth variety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't be surprised. And then I also am noticing like Mercury still being in Sagittarius, though direct, just makes me feel like things being pushed forward that are too hasty, that suit ideals that are maybe not necessarily aligned with what our listenership and viewership may be excited about. And I think it really affects some financial stuff leading into the next year. So I have this, don't spend frivolously idea. Spend consciously and according to your ideals is what
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend. Do be preparing. Do set yourself up for success. Do think about what's coming. We're increasing in light. When you're increasing in light in astrology, we also consider that increasing in awareness. So make yourself aware. Do your research. Don't just leave questions open-ended because that is going to lead to beliefs that don't support you. Ask yourself why until you reach the bottom of the question and then build yourself up from there. My biggest frustration that I've seen lately, especially in political climates and things like that, is people will stop before the question that will make it make sense. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling people, like, ask the next question. Please just ask the next question. Once you feel satisfied, ask yourself, is there more that I should know about this? We have an embarrassment of resources of getting information. And yes, you have to make sure you're getting good information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's the right kind of information, there's the less biased kind of information. You have people out there who mean well. Authenticity, and I got this from Hank Green on Blue Sky over the weekend. Authenticity equals trustworthiness. So if you can't trust them, if they're not coming across saying, here's my resource, here's why I believe this, here's how you can take this further, that's not authentic. So take that into everything that you're doing in social media, to the communities that you're allowing into your head. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be really important to know what you believe, because that's going to inform all of your choices moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note of um, informing yourself in those types of things, as well as you mentioning blue sky. I will say I do think the TikTok ban is going to go through. So
Yeah.
if you are only following us on TikTok, please look to follow us on other places. Obviously, you're also listening to the podcast. We super appreciate you there.
Mhm.
But we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky, we're on
We
Lemon
have
8, which
mailing
I hate
lists.
and it's probably going to go away too.
I
We're
know. I love it.
on YouTube.
Mhm.
Um, we're hoping to head over to Neptune if that becomes a thing.
Yep.
So we're on all the places, but just going to plug that in here too. And also, I made a video about this over the weekend too, because I was just like, listen, if TikTok was instrumental in your spiritual awakening, that means that they're trying to take away that too.
Mhm.
And like being really realistic with yourself on how you're going to maintain that. That's a really awesome solstice activity as well, to be totally
Mhm.
honest. How are you going to maintain your spirituality? Especially if stuff changes, because we
Mhm.
really are good at maintaining things when things are comfortable, and we get real shit as a species at maintaining things when things get uncomfortable or out of sight, out of mind. Do not let the powers that be play that on you. um Plan now. How are you going to maintain your spiritual journey? How are you going to maintain your spirituality? How are you going to maintain your connection? If that's following a bunch of other creators, creators on other platforms other than just TikTok, so you can still touch base with that, amazing. If that is, you schedule a time each month where you do something spiritual for yourself, and like that's very intentional for the next year, 2 years, whatever it is, amazing. But like this is a really, really solid time to look at your spiritual journey as a whole and be like, what do I want to do with it going forward? And how am I going to maintain it going forward as well? Especially if you don't have the same tools or freedoms that you did before,
Mhm.
which let's be real, that's all changing. Unfortunately, truly horrifically, it's all changing. So holding that space for yourself, honoring that for yourself, really, really, really important right now too.
Mhm.
No better
Yeah.
time to do it than solstice.
And I'm going to say this, and I hope it doesn't feel polarizing or anything like that. There are changes coming. It is
Mm-hmm.
not overreaction. It's not,
Mm-mm.
I had a conversation with someone close to me recently who said, last time we were in these similar circumstances politically, nothing happened. And I'm like, no, it really did. This person
That's
wasn't
not
interested in any of the
true.
receipts that I could bring up, but I could bring them up. And if you do a
Mm-hmm.
light search, you can find them as well if you want to make sure that you're aware. Um, but
Yeah.
things are going to change. They
Yeah.
are. There are going to be policies that are rewritten, undone, brought forth, all these things. And some of them you'll feel, some of them you won't because maybe you're not part of that demographic, but just be aware things are going to change. We are
Mm-hmm.
in a time of change. Literally, we're coming up on another Jupiter Saturn square. I think it's like next week. And it's going to happen again when Jupiter goes direct. Like we're in this time of crucial change. The Jupiter Saturn conjunction was 2020. So isn't it interesting that we're losing TikTok during the Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
Saturn square? Um,
No, it's dumb.
yeah.
I mean, yes, it is interesting, and it's of course very philosophical. I do think it will come back. So I do
Hmm.
want to just asterisk that. I do think it
Yeah.
will come back. I do think it will be gone for a minute, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, for a little while. And I don't know if it'll come back with the same relevance it currently has.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
feel it strong.
mhm, not in the same way.
Yeah. And I know that you and I have talked about this since 2022, actually. I remember when Pluto first came
Mhm.
into, first dipped and was getting ready to dip into Aquarius, how we talked about there's a new wave of social media coming.
Yep.
And I think we're seeing that with the rise of things. Like I think Blue Sky might be the beginning edge of it. I don't know if it has the longevity for like 20 years or
I don't
more.
either.
Um, but it's an introduction to that new vibe. I
Hmm.
think this Neptune, the what I've seen there, the vision of it is what I was looking for. If they
Yeah.
can keep that going and if it can be sustainable, fantastic.
When I
But
look
yeah,
at it, it feels like a little bit of like a revival of some of the creativity that social media used to have
yeah,
that it no longer does. Like, so our social media is very sterilized. Like, if you look at any FYP, it's going to look this, or not FYP, like like page, like creator
mhm,
page on TikTok. It looks the same as every other creator page aside from the videos itself. Like, it's very sterile.
mhm.
It's very that. And I think we go more, and I
Back
don't
to
know if it's Neptune or
MySpace.
something else. That's just it. I think we're moving back towards a MySpace-esque creative
Mhm.
thing there. And it's done obviously in a very different way because MySpace was done messy and weird and
Oh
like
yeah.
we know that. And it doesn't feel that way, but that like ability to change things, to show a bit of yourself in, that space. Really think we're headed towards that. Short form video is not going anywhere, by the way. Like
Mhm.
short form video will be on all social media apps for the rest of time because it has shown that it sells
Mhm.
things, and therefore it will stay. So that will always be a thing. I don't know exactly how that's going to come up.
Mhm.
But I will say, like when they announced the TikTok ban really going through because the Supreme Court didn't pick it up, which
Nope.
I didn't think they would. I really didn't think. I was like, there's a tiny chance when I look at that timeline, but it's just not. There's
Yeah.
no
Well,
way.
if there was ever a current relevance for the term those who do not have ears to hear, like
Yeah,
tell me you put rocks on your ears without, yeah. Like, keep
honestly, too.
saying the
If
wrong thing, even when we try to give you information. But okay.
mhm. With that too, just really quick, I was going to make a point, but I forgot that point. So we're going to move to this point. Shit happens. It's fine. I have just, okay, with this Mercury Mars retrograde combination, I have just learned to let it go. Like if it's gone, it's
Mhm.
gone. Just goodbye. And then if it comes back, it comes back. And that's frustrating, but whatever. I don't care. But anyway, the point I was going to make is that I will say there's going to be a lot of financial shifting that's going to come in the next year. It's huge. It looks like icebergs moving. It's
Mhm.
big. However, as a reminder from us to you, money is the energy of trust.
Mhm.
That's what it is. You can move it, you can manifest it. Do not allow yourself to absorb limiting beliefs based on
Mhm.
what media will say in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
Don't do it, please. If you feel like they're giving you a limiting belief, immediately give yourself the other statement. Like, no,
Mhm.
I want to believe this instead.
Yeah.
There will still be opportunity. There will still be financial stuff. Well, a lot of people struggle. Of course they will. I'm not going to bypass that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be the truth that you buy into. And there's more ability to manifest things in, to change financial situation than the media will give you credit for. And I'm not even trying to say like the media is all bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying they're going to be saying things that are scary because a lot of things are scary, but you don't have to believe that. You're
Yeah.
still magic and you can still do stuff with your money that's different.
Mhm. Well, and like I was looking at my next year in astrology and I see financial struggle in my future there. And so I was like, okay, well, great. But I forgot, I almost forgot. This is one of my favorite phrases. I almost forgot that I'm actually really good at manifesting. I forget it all the time, but then I
Mhm.
remember. And one example, and I want this to be a really good example, that money is not the way to get all of your resources. Sometimes you don't require money to have what you need to be comfortable or safe. And an instance of this happened this weekend when for some reason my Dan he had a lemon tree as a kid and it was very important to him and it got eaten by his dog. And I've heard about this lemon tree since before we were dating. So more than 12 years of hearing about this lemon tree. So this year I was like, I'm going to get him a lemon tree. But by the time I got around to it, it was too expensive, money problems. But it was too expensive for me to be able to afford it. And so I was like, dang, I really wanted to get him that money tree, but oh well, right? So there's your one manifesting step of I really wanted this, but it's okay that I don't have it right now. I'll make it work somehow later. Total detachment. I now have two money trees that I got for free last weekend.
Lemon trees.
Lemon trees, money trees. Sorry. Those
No,
two,
you're
I
good.
have a money tree. But lemon trees. I have
Hmm.
two lemon trees that I got for free last weekend because someone was like, I planted a lemon seed and it grew. And I was like, great. And they're like, I have too many of them. I'll take one. I took two because one's for my mother-in-law. But those kinds of circumstances will fall into place. And I think they're going to fall into place more and more. I think one of the things that we are headed towards as a society over the next few decades, and it's going to show up more and more, is getting back into trading with each other and, just finding resources that aren't just fungible tokens. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. I think a lot of that's coming in. I also think that with money stuff too, I do think that because the stuff that's about to happen is unprecedented, it's never happened before. I think it's going to have some unprecedented reaction from that in a
yeah.
financial way too. And I think it's going to create a lot of opportunity in a lot of ways, which sounds so counterintuitive, and I know it does, but just to give you some encouragement there, like truly.
Mhm. Do you remember it's one of my of the claymation movies that come out around the holidays. Jack Frost is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
which should surprise nobody, right? Jack Frost's design, I really adore. Um, but the thing that they do in their city and their town, because they're stiffed by their government and the taxes are so high they can't afford anything, every winter when Jack Frost comes and makes the ice, they would take the ice and they would make their own money. And then all winter long, they would just use that as money. And now that's not exactly going to translate to our reality, but the metaphor is there, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I see you trying to limit our resources here. Forget you then. We'll just find other ways to connect with each other and do it outside of your purview. Um, I could see that kind of
That
thing
would
coming
be
up.
interesting. What if it, like a video game, we got a different form of currency? So there's like
Mhm.
gems and money, you know, like how we
Yeah.
get in like video games. Like I could
Yep.
potentially get behind that. That could be very interesting. Not Bitcoin, guys. Not
No,
Bitcoin,
no, that
but
is
something else.
the spirit behind that is not
Blech,
my jam.
blech. Not the greatest.
Hmm.
I don't know. Just throwing all that out there too, just
Hmm.
stuff to think about because there's going to be a lot of limiting beliefs that are very easily to instill in the
Hmm.
coming 2 months. Do your best to not let those settle.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now called the Gorgon's Guide. It's what my book club is reading. It's
Mm,
Magical Resilience.
mm,
And one of the things that they talk about, which I've talked about on my own as well, but it's nice to have this validation, is the micro curses that come through microaggressions or that come
mm-hmm.
through, other forms of things. If
Yeah.
you view it as energy, yes. If someone slings an insult, that's a curse at you. If someone, is mad at you for your driving. So you're going to want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you're grounding, cleansing, and shielding a lot, not only
Mm-hmm.
for your energy purposes, but it's going to keep your mind, your eyes, and your soul clear to recognize what's real and what's not. The discernment
Mm-hmm.
is going to be really important. And so making sure you take care of your energy and that you create community that creates more micro compliments rather than microaggressions or whatever, build up that support system so that you have that community and shield and nurturing that you can receive and give.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that is super duper important. The other thing I just want to say is the next 2 episodes of our podcast are gonna be really fun. We're doing some
Mhm.
fun stuff. We're gonna do like your Spotify Wrapped for spiritual stuff that happened this year.
Mhm.
That's gonna be fun. Um,
We have
and
a
then
bookend with a Higa
and we'll do a
game.
bookend and a Higa and like whatever. So this is the only episode for the next 2 weeks where we're gonna talk more seriously about all this
Mhm.
stuff. And part of that is because the solstice in general.
Yeah.
Period. So just so you know, if you're like, man, more heavy stuff, I want to get it not here. Don't worry, we're gonna take a little bit of a break and do some silly stuff for the next
Mhm.
2 weeks. So there's that too.
Yeah. And that being said, if you want to contribute to the Higa game, if you
Uh-huh.
guys send us questions that you would like us to tell our stories with, we each have a Patreon tier where you can get the episodes early, but you can also contribute by asking questions. And if you comment
Yeah.
on the previous episode or whatever, on an episode that exists, because we'll get notified, I
Hmm.
will incorporate the questions into our Higa game. And
Hmm.
so we will use those first. If we don't have questions, we'll use the Higa cards. But feel free to be the Higa game and be
Hmm.
more included in that if you'd like.
Yeah. I love that idea. That is great. Let's do that. Sounds phenomenal. But yeah, please send us questions. We would have so much fun
Mhm.
with that. I'd love to answer your guys' questions. And not
Mhm.
just like spiritual questions about whatever, but like give us some story prompts or like some
Yeah.
we have a couple people that I know are really good at this. So we're gonna get some
Russ.
fantastic questions. Yeah, I was thinking Russ too. I'm like, Russ, come on, give us your question, Russ. No pressure, but also,
Yeah.
um, I'm excited to see what questions we get in that kind of on that note. Too of like solstice things. If you're like, but how do I celebrate it? Maybe you haven't celebrated it before. Maybe this year you really want to amp it up. We always make pomanders. We've talked
Yeah.
about this a whole bunch. We even made bonus videos about how to make pomanders on the YouTube or on the YouTube
Mhm.
Patreon before. So there's those. Pomanders are basically an orange with a bunch of cloves stabbed into it of intention that you hang all year long, and then you burn the next winter solstice. Doing stuff with fire on that note, really, really valuable for the winter solstice. That is like the universal concept throughout most cultures around the world. It's like winter solstice equals fire, which makes a lot of sense. It's considered midwinter. We're in the dead of night. Like this is, we need the fire to survive. So anything you can do to honor fire, whether that is like actually lighting it in your fireplace if you have one of those, or just having a candle lit in your house, or even just burning a piece of paper in your sink, like whatever you can do to connect to fire in some way, or even doing a meditation where you go to fire, or having like a one of those fucking Mercury retrograde video fires, fireplace
Like a
videos
dialogue?
that yeah, like
Oh,
that you
yeah.
have on your TV. Thank you.
You know Mercury's
Video
direct now,
fires.
right?
I know, but it's still in the shadow phase. Okay, Mercury went
Okay,
direct
okay,
like
fine.
5 hours
That
ago. Give
works.
me some break here. When we're recording this, not when you're listening to it. Mercury's been direct for a
Mhm.
while, so you don't have an excuse, but I
Yeah,
do.
no. Mercury went
Um,
direct at what, 4 p.m. Eastern time on the day before, it's the 15th.
yeah,
And
that's
today's
so.
the 16th for us. So
Hmm.
it's
And
been
that we
less
were
than
coming
24
down
hours.
off of a stupid full moon.
And
It's
to be
so
fair,
dumb.
traditionally, about a 3-day period of getting Mercury up and running again. So,
Hmm.
mhm.
And the full moon was dumb. It was a
Ruled
dumb
by
moon.
that Mercury. Yeah.
It was Gemini full moon, and it was emotional.
Mm. Yeah,
So
it was
much
a lot.
emotion.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I didn't like it. Um, But yeah, those are fun things you can do. You can also do like a simmer pot with a lot of intention.
Hmm.
If you have a Christmas tree, if you do Christmas, you can use a sprig off of your Christmas tree, your live one. Obviously, don't use plastic. Put that into your simmer pot, which is a really lovely, um, really lovely thing that you can do to kind of like again thank the intention, cleanse the energy, bring the joy that is the represented by that tree into your home. Or you can just use what you got on hand. You can use oranges, you can use cinnamon, you can use cloves, you can
Yeah.
use juice. Like you can use whatever feels good to you there. Lemon, you could use
Hmm.
that. Circling back to your tree. But that's always wonderful. Or even melting some of the snow outside of your home. If you have snow into that simmer pot, that's a great idea. Again, using kind of fire. Oop, my ear just started ringing. So do that if you got it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna take this validation. You can also stay up all night. That has been a tradition for humans a long time on the winter solstice and the summer solstice is to witness the longest night of the year by actually staying up through it.
Hmm.
Part of that was because a lot of times, a lot of cultures didn't have great vibes with the longest night of the year. It's not a good thing. If you know, it's like finally like we're waiting for the sun to be reborn because this is scary. It's a lot of darkness, and that's a scary thing. So getting together the community, staying up all night, and then witnessing that first sunlight of the sun coming back again is
Hmm.
huge. So just some suggestions on some stuff you could do to actually honor the solstice if you want to celebrate it more holiday style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Sing songs, dance.
Yep. I will be playing holiday music, watching holiday movies, various, like no specific holiday. I just like the cheery tone to be pervading or pervasive through my house. I also pentatonics holiday songs
Hmm.
are my go-to.
Hmm.
Um, I'll be burning last year's pomander, making a new one, and doing a simmer pot.
Yeah.
And I will witness the sunrise and sunset around it. I will probably sleep though. So
I will most likely sleep as well.
mhm.
I am 32, not 21, so I will sleep.
I'm on the longer half of 34 at this point. So
Longer. You know what?
actually, I
Well,
guess
we
it's
got to
this year.
celebrate your 34th birthday in Italy. So like
We did.
you're in a
It
good
was the best
spot.
birthday I'd had in a good long time. Yeah.
Hmm. So blessings for 34 alongside of
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. It's really cool how long we've been doing this.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
is.
think about that every year around the solstice this time because we started the podcast at the end of November in
Hmm.
2020.
2021, I think, because we'd been doing our program a little bit. Yeah.
2021. You're right.
Hmm.
2021. And that's a long time ago.
Hmm.
And that's really cool. So, really just thank you all for being here on this journey with us. We are going to continue growing here. And we are wishing you a magical solstice of merriness.
Enjoy any celebrations that you might be doing. If you intuitively have one that you want to do, go with it, as long as it's
Hmm.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And we hope that you take all this energy and that you, one, two, three, go
Go
make some
make some
magic.
magic.
Woo!
Ooh. Come on, let all of that be in sync, please.